My name is Joseph Costanza. I'm 24 years old. Just turned actually 25, like a month and a half ago.
Hmm.
Bought my first property not too long ago. I work as like an intern architect,
Hmm.
full time, and do a few other things on the side. But yeah, basically that's it.
Where are you from, and what do you do on the side?
So um, I'm from like GTA, Vaughan specifically,
Hmm.
but sort of born and raised within Vaughan. On the side, I do drawings for investors, sort of as like a part-time thing for their renovations and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I also I serve and bartend at a restaurant up in Vaughan as well, as a part-time job.
Right. And before you're doing drawings, what were you doing before that?
I was doing a few things. Um, yeah, a number of things. Like it was odds and sides here or there, helping friends out, contracting stuff and whatnot. But yeah,
How long you been working?
how long I've been
A
working?
job.
Uh, 4 years. 4 years. 4 years full time.
And then before that, what were you doing? Because I remember when I first
School.
talked to you, you were never just doing one thing. You usually had a side
I
hustle and usually a third
I've
hustle.
always I I think I've had two jobs ever since I've been 16. Whether it was like training like a soccer team or like working full time and then having like a part time weekend thing. I've always had two jobs. I think
Hmm.
that was sort of my minimum. When I was in university, I eased off a little bit and I only had one job. But besides that, yeah, I've always had sort of two jobs.
Always two jobs. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so before meeting me, iWIN Real Estate, Tammy Ditomaso, what were your thoughts about investing in real estate?
Um, so my thoughts slightly changed um, just before, but I
Hmm.
think when meeting you, meeting Sherry, meeting Tammy, and sort of the crew, and along with a few other investors, it definitely solidified my interest in real estate.
Hmm.
Prior to that, um, I was um, not necessarily. I was considering it, but not fully invested into the idea of it. Definitely.
What do you think that was?
Um, it probably partly had to do with, uh, to be honest with you, the people that I was surrounding myself with, and probably mostly to do with my parents. My parents had not necessarily a negative view, but a misunderstanding of how the whole process worked.
Hmm.
So surrounding myself or starting to surround myself with people who did this more as a profession and people who saw this as a way to build wealth and to build income, um, changed my perspective on it entirely.
Hmm.
Yeah,
When you first brought it up with your parents about you were going to buy an income property, when was that, and what did they say?
that was so. I first brought it up to my parents uh, 3 years ago. It was the
Oh,
first year that I started working. Yeah, no, it was the first year that I started working full time,
uh-huh.
and it was like that moment of realization where it's like, oh shit, this is not what I signed up for. But I still really loved what I did,
Uh-huh.
and they were very much confused with the idea of investing in real estate and building an income off real estate, and then sort of being able to scale that and how that is even possible.
Hmm.
No one in my family really has done that or does that. Um, so having um, having those people around me that started to do that,
Hmm.
or were doing that full time really shifted where I saw my future. If I'm being, yeah, basically.
Hmm. Hmm. So I see you're
Mm.
chatting regular. You're pretty comfortable chatting at iWin meetings with other people. Who do you regularly talk to the most? You think, other than like myself, Cherry, and Tammy?
Uh, um, I talk to at the events. Well, you, Sherry, Tammy, James,
Hmm.
Travis, Dave, Tudo,
Right.
and then a few other people. Those are generally the regular people that I talk to.
Right. Right.
Um, but and those are sort of the connections, the friendships that I've made while I've been there. But just networking in general with everyone that's been there has been extremely helpful. Whether it's a book that someone recommends or advice that someone's given me,
Hmm.
in some shape or form, it's
Hmm.
either lifted my spirits, changed my perspective,
Hmm.
or um, given me the opportunity to grow more as an individual.
Hmm. So one of those folks that you mentioned, they actually bought their first investment part of this property roughly the same time you did. I think you know who I'm talking
Yes.
about. We don't have permission to use his name, so we'll leave it out. uh, and I think he's like 13 years older than you.
Is he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He just looks young.
I never actually asked them.
No. Yeah. No. He's late 30s,
Oh, okay.
and you guys are on the same journey, owning your first investment property almost the same time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a
I didn't know
crazy
you didn't
journey.
know that.
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't.
Yeah, he's got that baby
No,
face too.
we've been friends ever since the first day. Like ever since the first iWIN meeting. I think we were talking. We
Hmm.
sort of became friends right off the bat. We were both interested in the same thing. We were both looking for the same thing.
Hmm.
So it was an instant sort of connection between the two of us. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. No, it's crazy. Like I said, you're 24. He's at least 13, 14 years older than you.
Now, when I look about it, I was really anxious when I first started. I think
Uh-huh.
to really dive into this
Uh-huh.
and go full tilt away. But I've sort of changed my perspective,
Hmm.
and not necessarily that I have to go full tilt. That I
Hmm.
can like ease it off, learn a little bit more, go after it a little bit more of a slower pace because I do have a little bit more time on my hands.
Hmm.
So that is definitely a benefit. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, I have some bad news for you.
Bad news.
Yeah, real bad news.
Oh.
I was asking a lot of people if they would like to see a presentation on how to measure a home.
Yeah.
Because there's a handful of people I know who do all their own measurements. Uh,
Mhm.
some know, a lot don't. So
Yeah.
you're on
I,
deck.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's what a presentation on measuring a home or a
Hmm.
few other things
Hmm.
because I can definitely name a few things that people would probably be interested in
Hmm.
learning. I
Hmm.
know just from my background and from conversations that I have with people at the events,
Hmm.
a lot of people are sort of misinformed on how the permit process works or
Hmm.
how to even go about talking to their designer or talking
Hmm.
to like their contractor or whatnot. So
Right.
I think there's a lot more to it than just necessarily the dimensions, but I can definitely see why a lot of people would definitely be interested um, in wanting to do their own dimensions themselves and stuff like that. It's just
Hmm.
for their own peace of mind to understand.
Hmm.
Yeah.
At least to take a first run at it. Is there like do you have like maybe three pieces of advice you give someone that they're trying to go measure something for the first time? And when I mean something, I mean like a house. And to
Um,
provide so for anyone who's newer to investing, like Joseph had to do drawings for my property because I needed to get a permit, and the city wanted to know what the inside of the property looked like based on measurements. No, they didn't want pictures or nothing. They wanted architectural drawings,
of the house.
of a house, yes. And so they want all the measurements for the inside, all three levels, the basement, the main floor, and the upstairs. And probably they want any lot drawings. 'Cause, like nobody
Yeah, they
has a
do.
survey.
It's very rare to actually get a survey, and they always want a professional survey done. But there are ways to note it on the drawing that basically says that you're not taking full responsibility for the survey,
Right.
which sort of leaves it open for interpretation. But yeah, they're always asking for real survey drawings. Three tips.
Well, actually, let's
Ooh,
start there. Did my house require a survey?
yes, all drawings of any house, unless it's
All right.
no, all drawings will require some survey.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So for people who are newer to this, surveys are typically How much is a survey for a house these days?
Ooh, it depends.
Yeah,
I like don't quote me on this. I'm not sure, but it depends on the size of the lot, the complexity of the
yeah,
lot, but
yeah,
it can range anywhere from like 1,000 to 5,000 depending on the
yeah.
person you hire. Yeah,
I think
and that can easily cut into to cost very easily.
yeah, exactly. I think the number I have in my head is like mid 2000 or a little bit higher. So it's a
Yeah,
significant
that's pretty standard.
expense. Yeah.
That's pretty standard.
So that's why a lot of us want to avoid these things. And the challenge is, unless you have a new construction or you're dealing with the original owner, it's really rare to see a seller have a survey.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people that have surveys of their property, but those are grandfathered down from like a few owners ago or
Hmm.
something like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, when you're hiring a surveyor, you're hiring them to do a lot more than just the information you need, and that's why I don't think it's necessary. Um, you just sort of need the dimensions of your lot, whereas your surveyor will do everything from grading to everything, right? So,
Right.
um, it's an overly complex ask for the city,
Hmm.
in my opinion. But all municipalities require it, so
Hmm.
it's part of the process.
So where do you see beginners making mistakes then for measuring their own property?
A lot of people, when they're first making or first measuring out the property, probably make the biggest mistake is that they don't take the time at the beginning to prepare, because you can easily miss a whole bunch of things if you're not careful to at the very beginning to sort of prepare an understanding of how the property works, whether it's structurally or whether it's simple dimensions or just the general layout. Missing that information can drastically change um, the measurements that you take and
Hmm.
how that house actually looks when you present it to the city. And any deficiency, any change from your drawings can cause delays within your project. Right? So it's important to have those sort of as-built conditions set in place.
Hmm. And so we are Facebook Live. So anyone who's listening has questions around architectural stuff or drawings, like go ahead and comment. Um, I had a question. I forgot what it was. Do you how do you actually track? Are you just taking notes, pen and paper in a notebook, or are you using an app on your phone or tablet or
So,
laptop or what?
uh, I I just use a very simple method of just like I go through the house. I make sure I fully understand the house. I would sketch it out to get a full perspective of the house, and that would be probably a good 45 minutes to an hour before I even start any work. And then after that process, it's simply either you have, for me at least, I go through and either measure by hand with a measuring tape or
Hmm.
a laser pointer, depending on the tools at hand at the time.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's not a complex process, but it's very easy to make a handful of mistakes that can cause significant delays in your permit process, or yeah, your permit process is the main one that you were worried about.
Is there a particular laser measurer that you recommend to folks?
Not specifically. I'm not a big fan of them.
Oh, no kidding.
I like measuring by hand with measuring tape personally myself.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't have necessarily a recommendation. I've used them and will use them if they're on hand, but I'm not like it's just easier for me. I like just walking around with a measuring tape if I'm being honest.
So you
Yeah.
just need like a simple like $10-15 one?
Yeah, like
No
you really
special
don't need
features?
much. Yeah. Yeah. No, nothing. Yeah.
Interesting. And then what common mistakes do you see that folks make? They like forget to measure like the ceiling height, or they
There's forget to measure the ceiling, forget to measure window sizes, window placements. Um,
oh, that's a
yeah,
pain.
uh,
So you have to measure
yeah,
like where the window is on the wall, so the distance from
where
the
the
bottom of the
window
window
is
to
on
the
the wall. Yes, exactly. Everything. You need to be able to draw the building from scratch, right?
hmm.
Uh, and it does take some understanding of sort of the construction of the home,
Hmm.
but I mean, if with a little bit of research, that's pretty simple for most people to grasp if they wanted to do it themselves,
Hmm.
um, because it plays for factors in how the elevation or the front or the external elements of your building look,
Hmm.
and how to present that on the drawings.
Hmm.
But for the most part, yeah, you can do it yourself pretty easily.
Any apps you recommend?
I don't. I know there are a few. I don't use any myself. Um, but off the top of my head, I don't have any that I use specifically or that I have used. I know there are a handful,
Hmm.
but off the top of my head, I don't. I can't name them.
Very cool. What did your parents think about you buying your first house? First house, period. Just to clarify, this is Joseph's first house, period, that he's not going to live in.
Um, yeah, they were. I think because they were confused about the idea, they didn't really support it as much as they have now. They've sort of come around as time has passed, and as I've gone through it. But they were much more. They weren't opposed to me buying a property. They were opposed to me buying something that needed some sort of renovation.
Uh,
And it was all fear of the unknown, I think. But I've always been someone to basically just do my own thing. If I thought it was the right decision, I
right,
just would go about it my own way.
right.
So after, I think it was 3 years of just like listening to them and being like, okay, trying to satisfy what they
Hmm.
were looking for and what
Hmm.
they wanted for me, I just said, screw it, I'm going to do it myself.
Did it help that you, Travis, and David Vitudo were all basically doing the same thing at the same time? Because you all took a
It
rental,
definitely,
you
it
all
definitely
bought a
helps to
rental
have
project.
that really like within a month of each other, everyone's in the same process. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it definitely helps because um, it helps because we can all bounce ideas off of each other. So having that connection, and I never would have made that connection if I didn't go out to networking events or go out to meetings.
Cool, cool.
But yeah,
Cool, cool.
yeah.
I use, for example, I use the same contractor as James Maggs does. So
Mhm.
he'll ask me, what kind of kitchen you want? And then I go, what did James do? And he goes, I'll show you a picture. I'm like, yeah, just like that. And I walk away.
Simple, simple process.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Why reinvent the wheel, right? His place
No,
rented
there's
for
no.
lots of money. Tenants liked it. That's all that really matters.
The end of the day.
Yeah, and yeah, that's all that matters. So, you had some challenges along the way, and then what did your parents think when you told them about your challenges?
There was a lot of anxiety. There was there was a decent argument that ensued. But I worked my way through it, and we found some solutions. They were more than willing to help. But I think the anxiety of the problem definitely got to them.
Mhm.
But I think in all honesty, it got to me too. Being first time dealing with it,
Mhm.
and just to be a little bit more clear, it was more to do with cost and financing and stuff like that. So there was some anxiety around not being able to afford the renovation sort of midway through.
Mhm.
But I figured it out through a little bit of hard work and some studying and bouncing ideas off of you and a whole bunch of other people at the of my network now.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah,
Are you able to share?
they were
Are you able to share how
with
you came up with what you needed? Because you never
um
ever told me. You never I never got closure on this.
I yeah, well, we I didn't know this, but in talking to Tammy, we figured out there was a few things that it within the renovation that could be held off for now before we refinance. It would keep the permit open. For example, like we're not doing the driveway right away because that it just the cost would be out of my range. But then there was a little bit that I funded through family friends who loaned me the money and stuff. Yeah,
Fantastic. What was your parents'
yeah.
advice when you ran into this hurdle?
Uh, their initial advice, my mom's gut reaction was you should sell the place, and it was just like it was a moment where My mom said what she needed to say, and I looked at her and I was like, no, and I just walked away because I knew in my heart it wasn't the right decision. I knew just obviously from everything that I've learned, obviously that wasn't the right decision, and we're working through it slowly.
Right.
But yeah, it's a process, and I'm learning along the way, and um, I'm finding that I've learned a lot more now that I bought the property than before I bought the property, and that you don't need to know everything before you start.
Mm-hmm.
You can figure it out, and it'll be. Because now that I look back, even just 4 months ago, before I even took ownership of the property, um, I knew nothing. Like I mean, like I knew the basis. I knew how to calculate the numbers. Even that, like I had screwed up on a few things on how the numbers would be calculated, right? So I just really don't think that you need to know everything. You just need to have a group and a supportive network around you that is able to walk you through problems as they arise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Has Tammy been
I think
helpful?
that's
Has Coach Tammy been
Tammy's
helpful?
been, yes, definitely, definitely. Tammy has been my rock in this whole process. If I have a problem, she's always there.
Right.
Yeah,
So Tammy is your agent on the deal?
Tammy is my agent on the deal, and well, she's more than that now. She's a friend and she's a partner. But yeah,
She also she helps that she just lives around the
also
corner from
lives.
your
Yeah, she
property.
also lives right down the street from the property. Yeah, it does help. It's literally the street over.
So can you tell us about the investment? What is it you bought?
I bought a single family home in on the Upper Mountain in Hamilton,
Mm-hmm.
East Mountain in Hamilton, and we're currently renovating the property into a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
So that's putting separating the basement and the main level into two separate units and renting them out. Right now, they are by the time this comes out, it'll probably be
Oh no, we're live.
fully rented. We're live. There we go. um,
Oh, if you're listening to the podcast, that is we're
yeah.
probably 2-3 weeks delayed, but this is broadcast to Facebook Live as well.
In weeks, it's going to be fully rented out. Yeah.
You rented at the top already, did you not?
The top is rented. The renters are moving in a few days. 4 days. Oh Jesus Christ. 4 days.
And you're self-managing?
I'm self-managing right now.
Uh-huh.
It's enough for me to manage by myself, but the plan is, and how I've always worked the numbers out, to eventually be able to hand that responsibility off to a third party,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to be managing it long term, just because I value my time more than my money in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather be able to spend that time with family if I have the opportunity to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So is that what you're? Oh, interesting. Because
Mhm.
why are you investing? You actually make pretty good money for your age.
Why am I investing? Um, so backstory, I think I've always been really interested in investing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more investing for freedom, in a nutshell. Anyone who knows me knows that I have no problem working my face off. I regularly pull 70, 80-hour weeks, and it doesn't necessarily bother me. But for me, the freedom to be able to do what I want when I want, let's say at 35, if I can free up to the point where I don't necessarily need to work, um, and my life sort of my real estate pays for my life, that to me is more valuable than um, having to go out and party or anything like that. So yeah, that's why I'm investing. How I got into it is a different story. I think I've always been really interested
Mm-hmm.
in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was getting out of high school, I think that was I misunderstood that interest in real estate for an interest in architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to university for architecture, and I love every second of it. But as I jumped into the workforce, I understood that it was not necessarily my true interest.
Right, right.
Um,
And then you've tried other investments. What else have you tried?
I've done stock trading
Like day
and like
trading
trade
or like buy and
day
hold?
trading. And,
You tried day trading.
I I I I was stock trading, buy and hold, for a little bit. I didn't necessarily like that. The process was slow. I still own some stuff, but nothing major.
Mhm.
Um, but then I tried day trading. I ended up quitting my part-time job at the time to take day trading on as sort of a part-time job.
Mhm.
But the anxiety that I had, and it just didn't fit my personality.
Mhm.
The day trading aspect. The day trading was the foreign exchange market.
Mhm.
And then I sort of moved into real estate. It was always an interest,
Mhm.
but like I said, like I never actually took it seriously. I'd always sort of had it. I was always learning about it, but never actually decided to make a move.
All right.
Yeah.
What did you think about hearing about option trading last night?
Oh, option trading was interesting. I've studied option trading, but I've never actually done it. So I've always heard it explained much more complicated, with a whole number of strategies. But Omar's method was is extremely interesting, and anyone who's listening who knows that Omar is doing an event, like a class, like I would definitely take it. I'm planning to take it
You signed up yet?
100%.
I don't have the sign up sheets.
I have filled out the paperwork. It is on my desk, but I was supposed to email it to Maria, and I haven't emailed it yet.
Fantastic. Prices go up next week, by the way.
So I should fill that out ASAP. Okay, I should send that out. Got it.
For anyone listening, Omar is actually one of our speakers as well for Wealth Hacker Conference. So that's the a more inexpensive way to see Omar in
He's speaking on November
yeah
9th.
Omar speaking at November 9th, along with Matthew. We'll work it out if it's going to be both of them or just Omar. But they'll be sharing. Yeah, I sent you a picture of his car.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what he was driving last night. It's very sick. It's
Last night.
yeah, he drove it there last night. Yeah,
Oh, wait, but
yeah, no, he's you know when someone has more than I do and they work less than I do, I want to know how, and then I want to know if I can do it myself, and that's how we got on this path. That's how we got here. That's how Omar arrived as a speaker last night at the iWIN meeting. Yeah, crazy, eh? So, so you've said you studied options trading before. How come now you're looking at taking it more seriously?
it was always explained to me in not necessarily a complicated way, but it was always explained to me with a whole number of different strategies, and there was no one necessarily using one specific strategy only.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I had more confidence
Mm-hmm.
that it worked.
Mm-hmm.
There was ways to do it a little bit more seriously,
Mm-hmm.
from Omar's presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always considered it. But at the time, I saw it as a more risky strategy, and
Mm-hmm.
that real estate was the least risky of the two, and I'd rather put my capital at that time, or even now, right now, still in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely something that I'm interested in, and I will definitely learn a lot more of
Yeah.
in the near future. Or yeah.
You might get sucked in, dude. Because I'm pretty sure all your boys are doing it too.
It's going to, but it's
David's already doing option trading, so you're gonna get sucked in too.
like Dave.
Yeah, David Tito. Yeah.
Dave, yeah, I was talking to him yesterday. I'm like, are you signing up? He's like, no, man, I already do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he needs to level up though.
Yeah.
I'm looking to level up. So, oh, sorry. I wanted to talk about go back to your property.
Yes.
Are you able to share what you rented out the main floor for? What did you think you could rent it out for, and what did you rent it out for? I've seen pictures.
Well,
We'll get into that later.
we didn't rent it out for a huge amount. But It wasn't. I don't think it's what you think it is. We rented, so we didn't do any work on the upstairs.
Uh-huh.
So it was as is when we bought it. Now,
Hmm.
in hindsight, I probably would have maybe have spent a few thousand and redone
Hmm.
the kitchen or
Hmm.
something like that to just give it a little bit more of an upgrade
Hmm.
and a more modern feel. But we rented it out as is when I bought it for 1,700. Yeah,
My place looks a
yeah,
lot
it's
nicer
decent. It's
than
good.
my place is a lot nicer than yours, and I'm only getting 1850. I've seen pictures of your place, dude.
It's not that bad. Don't make it sound like it's horrible. It's just a little dated.
A little dated and $1,700 for a 3-bedroom apartment. For anyone who's listening, understand that is very impressive. And then what are you gonna get for the basement?
We have tenants that are that we are seriously considering right now.
Uh-huh.
For 1,500.
So $2,700. What about utilities, inclusive or plus?
Um, plus.
Okay, $2,700. Are you cool to share what you bought the place for and what your rental budget is?
Um, so we bought the place for 470.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't need a lot of work. So I think that was a good midway ground because I was able to satisfy my parents that there wasn't that no that was a huge concern, definitely. But it wasn't too much work, so it gave them the comfort to know that it was manageable
Mm-hmm.
while also giving me the experience of having to do some
Mm-hmm.
of the renovation.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought it for 470.
Mm-hmm.
The budget was 50
Mm-hmm.
50,000
Mm-hmm.
for the renovation. We went slightly over budget. A few things were missed in my calculations when I was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing those calculations. So the total renovation came out to like four. It's not done yet, but 600 or not 600. 60,000.
600,000 would be steep for a reno.
um, so it's okay. Um, I wanted to keep the renovation cost down as much as possible and the ARV up as much as possible, but it's how it goes. I wanted to pull more money out, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, as it's looking, I'll be able to pull out. I'll have left in the deal maybe 80,000. Um, so
Which is fantastic.
yeah, I
So
think
you're even getting some of your down payment back then.
yeah, I'll be getting. I'm hoping to be getting around 15,000 back from the down payment.
Right.
We put 20% down because it seemed like a more feasible strategy at the time that I did it.
Mm-hmm. Very
Mhm.
good. Very good. And you'll never believe, but a flipper, a very well-known flipper in our community, reached out to me and asked me if I knew an appraiser. And I said, "There's no appraiser I'm generally fond of." And I said, you just got to do the standard stuff. Go meet the appraiser. I'm mentioning the appraiser because you mentioned ARV, so the after
Mhm.
repair value, after renovation value, you're gonna have the house appraised again. So
Yep.
I'm sharing this because it seems some people still don't know this. But what we've always taught clients is meet the appraiser at the property and show them the upgrades you made. Um, Show them the quotes that you had for the work that you had done, and then show them comparable properties as well, so that they know what the value of the property is. Like I find in general, almost everyone is overworked. An appraiser, for example, usually has like 15 appraisals they have to do each day, and that's what they have to do in the working day. And then at night, they have to go back to their office and then go run their own comparables and then determine the value for the property. So, in my experience, appraisers always appreciate you providing them the research for them, having done the research for them. So you hand them the comparables. And again,
Yeah.
like I said, you meet them, you walk them to the property, you point out for them what renovations you did, right? And in your
Mm.
case, it's a rental property, so I'd even show them the leases. So these are the rents I'm getting, right? And this
Mhm.
guy is like all over social media talking about his flips, and he's like, "Oh, that's a really good idea." Like, dude, you didn't know, right? It's not about the appraiser; it's about educating whoever is appraising your home, because no one's going to do the homework that you
Mhm.
will do. know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Oh,
oh,
for sure.
so we're running out of time. I don't want to miss this. What did your mother say when she saw my house?
So I took a video of your house as we were doing measurements for it. My mom basically told me that she would disown me if I ever bought a property like that. So that's the next target. Um, but yeah, she was not happy when she saw it.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And I want to share
it
that
was interesting.
because I want to share that because like Joseph mentioned, his house was didn't need that much work, but it is dated. My house
Mhm.
scared Joseph's mother to the point of threatening of being disowned. Right for
It scared me when I got in there. Okay,
yeah, you're a bubble boy though.
the light switches were it's like it was midnight. I was like, I don't know why I'm here.
I don't know why you went so late. Why would you go out like when it's after dark? But
It's
anyways,
the only time I could go. I was working, and I was like, you know what, I need to get this done. So we went a little later, but it was okay. We
uh,
made it work.
but I wanted to share
I had a
because
flashlight. We wanted a flashlight.
jeez, my son doesn't even want to be there during the day. But I wanted to share this because for the listeners' benefit, I find all these people who are talking about like Burr strategies, BFR, whatever they're calling it these days. It's a strategy we've done from the beginning because it was called the practical strategy. Anyways, the point is if you want to be able, for the investor that wants to try to pull out all of their money after the renovation, usually you have to buy something that nobody else will buy, right? And subject to my property, it was so ugly that your mom would disown you for it, right? So for anyone beginning investor who wants to do that sort of strategy with the expectation you can pull all of your money out after the renovation, that means you have to do something. You have to solve someone's problem that's so bad that you can get the valuation that you need in order to make the numbers work. So I just wanted to share that. Right, young Joseph can't because he bought something that wasn't very ugly. Someone paid him $1,700 as is for just the upstairs plus
Yeah.
utilities. So not bad.
Yeah.
Well done, Joseph.
No, not bad.
So yeah. So before you met us, where do you
Mm.
think you'll be now? Where do you think you're gonna end up?
Where would I be?
No, where do you think you're gonna end up in like 5-10 years?
Um, hmm.
24 years old.
I have I my plan is by 35 to be able to retire if I want to. Um, retire in general is an overused term, but be able to live life a little bit more on my schedule
Mm-hmm.
is like because I probably will never retire. Always be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But my plan is by 35 to um, be living life more on my terms.
Freedom 35, folks. Age 24. Mark this date on your calendar.
We'll see.
And then shameless.
That's the target.
And then, do you think joining iWIN has helped you get closer to that goal, or is it hindered?
No, it definitely
So
hasn't
this is your
hindered.
last month. I'm quitting right now, right?
um, no, I think for anyone who's looking to get into it, or whoever's like seriously considering investing as a job, or even just as a part time thing for them,
Mm-hmm.
having people around you that motivate you, that push you, that um, are willing to give you the truth when you need to hear the truth,
Mm-hmm.
is more valuable than anything else. And that's what the network at iWIN has sort of offered me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that connection. And it's sometimes the honest truth, and I don't want to hear it, but at the same time, I know a lot of people there have been where I am. So it's comforting to know that a lot of people are speaking from experience. Um, and yeah, I've definitely grown, if not professionally, a lot more as a person from the network.
By the way, Matt Cabral's watching, so he's saying the first one's a huge learning curve, but number two will be a piece of cake. Keep it up. And then he's commenting about my property. It's not ugly. It's just unique.
It's one of a kind. It is one of a kind.
Tell your mom that. Tell your mom that's unique. It's not ugly.
I think I showed her the pictures before before you removed the mold. That's why.
You got to bring it back after.
I don't think she'll step foot in it. Doesn't matter.
Just don't tell her that's the house.
I will try. We'll go for one try before you try renting it out. I don't know if it's gonna work though.
Dude, I'm gonna get like $650 a room. It's gonna...
You're so close to the university.
Yeah, try to buy smart. All right, I gotta jump. Joseph, thanks for doing this.
No worries.
Mark this
No
on your
problem.
calendar, folks. 24. Freedom by 435. You can, and for anyone listening, yes, you can be like Joseph too. All right.
Okay,
Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.